Other common mistake, know your audience when you're talking to the military. Are you, the way the military is structured, 15% of the military is made up of officers, and that remaining almost 85% are the enlisted ranks. And you have junior enlisted and senior enlisted, which are very different audiences, as well as an officer community, which is, again, a different audience. It's important to understand the distinction between officer and enlisted, and it's important to understand the distinction between senior enlisted and junior enlisted. The officers you can think of as the management. If you think of it as a corporate structure, you've got that top 15%, kind of the white collar managers overseeing the business, and then you have the enlisted ranks filling out that pyramid with the junior enlisted. Those are your 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are enlisting on a contract, signing up to serve for 2 or 3 or 4 years. For a variety of different reasons. And you have your senior enlisted, who are your career professionals in the military, who you will hear time and time again are the backbone of the military. They're the folks that are serving 12, 15, 20 years. They're the subject matter experts of the military. I can tell a personal story. As a 22-year-old ensign coming out of the Naval Academy, I reported to my ship, and I had 19 sailors that worked for me the first day I showed up, and there was my chief petty officer, who was a senior enlisted advisor that worked for me, 42-year-old female chief petty officer, 22-year-old Rob Diamond. She answered to me. She called me sir. She saluted me every morning and asked what the mission of the day was, and I told her what we were working on, and then I got the hell out of the way and let her do her business. But again, know your audience, because those roles and those jobs are different, so you need to know who you're talking to. Some stereotypes that not just the left unfortunately makes, but I think broader American society, you see these stereotypes time and time again, both in the media, in entertainment, different places. The military is actually an extremely educated institution. If you compare it to the broader American demographics, we outperform the U.S. average for our enlisted personnel with 100% of our enlisted personnel required to have a high school diploma or the equivalent, and 100% of our officer corps having a college degree. And if you were to really dive in there, you'll note that as officers progress and they get to the kind of mid-level range after 10 or 12 or 15 years, they're required to have a graduate degree. Many have PhDs, and most famously is General Petraeus, serving today. He's got a PhD from Princeton. So the fact that people look at the military not as an educated institution is a huge stereotype and a pitfall you don't want to fall into. A couple more demographics. Military is young, just by numbers, as I mentioned. Our junior enlisted ranks, you saw that 85% chunk. We're really talking about men and women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. You get above that, and you're just talking about a very tiny slice of admirals and generals running the show. But this is a very young institution. And it's a family-oriented institution. We have an all volunteer professional military today. And again, I'm not debating the draft or anything like that, but that's what we have. And I think you can talk to most folks who've served, and they view themselves as professionals, especially folks that have served past their required length of service. And with a professionalized armed forces has come a community of families. We talk all the time now about military families as part of that active duty veterans community. You'll see the First Lady has made an awesome effort to talk about military family issues and make that one of her signature issues. So again, know your audience, very family oriented. Ethnicity, you always hear a lot about minorities, or the military is drastically made up of minorities because it's a last-ditch effort, and blah, blah, blah. It's just not true. We're almost directly in line with the U.S. population. We're slightly overrepresented by African Americans and slightly underrepresented by Latinos, but for the most part, we exactly represent the broader U.S. society as it fits. And lastly, I would tell you the military is still predominantly male. About 84% of the military are men, 16% female, and that's total force, active duty reserves. that brings a whole host of issues, and we'll touch on a little bit of that. But again, know your audience. And we want to move into our third section here, which is talking about values, because this is a really important topic for progressives and for folks on the left. Again, when you're trying to connect and communicate with this vast military audience that can sometimes seem imposing, there are a whole host of values that we as progressives and folks on the left and the military, which is typically seen as a conservative institution, that we share, and they're not intuitively obvious.